intro.
Okay, so Collin, we just want to first of all thank you again for being willing to jump on with us and just answer a few questions for us. We appreciate so much what you're doing in the world with the work that you're doing. I seriously am so grateful that I found you, because when I found you, I had no idea. I honestly didn't know what was going on with electronics. I thought I was safe. I thought my kids were playing. I was only letting them play Minecraft. I was being careful. I watched them anyway. So I'm going to tear up, because I was so grateful to find you and realize, oh my gosh, we are being neglectful.
Yeah, we all thought that we were being careful with it. I think we all kind of knew that it probably wasn't good, but we learned so much more about it from you. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to make you cry so fast. Jeez, I feel awful now, but I kind of sorry, not sorry, I guess, right? It's been good.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you. And so first of all, I just want to ask you a little bit about how this all came to be. How did you decide to start being such a strong advocate for helping kids get away from smartphones and for saving the kids?
Yeah. So it all started a few years ago with, of course, a horrible story where we found out a family friend of ours' daughter ended her life at 20. And she was like, when she was little, they were kind of our neighbors. My wife worked with her mom, and she was this funny, happy, chubby, silly little 9-year-old kid. And we just loved her. She was like literally the happiest kid on planet Earth. And then we moved and lost contact with the family for about 10, 11, 12 years. And then I see the mom at the gas station after a 12-year break, never seen her. And I just was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you forever. How are your kids? How's your daughter? What's she up to? Is she like 20? Is she in college? And the mom, her face just like sunk. And she said, no, she died last year. And when I asked her, I said, well, what happened? I was like, was she sick? Was it a car crash? What was it? And she kind of told me a story. And then she said, well, you know what it was? She said, it all started a few years before that when I gave my child a loaded gun and I didn't show her how to use it. And it took her. Those were her words. And I was like, what? And out of her pocket, she pulled her phone. And she's like, I gave her this. She had her daughter's phone. And she's like, and this is where I lost my kid. And she told me a story of what I thought only happened to my friend Whitney, to her daughter, where once she got on that phone in middle school, her mom said, I lost my kid. It's like she grew up overnight. She just changed. She started to change how she dressed, how she acted, and it was not just teen angst stuff. It was like something was going on. She was really anxious and she was depressed and we didn't know what it was. She started, self-harming and just like all these things spiraling to the point where at 20 years old, she ended her life. And her mom said it all was because of that dang phone. And I had been talking a little about how social media had been affecting us as adults and as parents and as, people with fully functioned brains. And I didn't realize, because my oldest is 14. She was only 11 and a half, 12 back then. I didn't realize that parents have been giving their kids these apps. I didn't realize that was the norm. And so I shared that message with people actually on my Instagram account, and I got flooded with thousands of messages every week from other teenagers. I mean, on the day, like 2,000 messages per day from other teenagers that were messaging me saying, you think this is only happening to your friend? This was happening to me. Like, I'm 17. This phone stole my life. Like, kids telling me their friends suicide after mental health issues, just like one after the other. And I was just sharing them and block out their names, share them. And it created this huge kind of opened this Pandora's box where I think for the first time in a while, like people are like, wait a second, these poor kids like have been thrown to the wolves and we gave them this stuff and it caused so many issues. Now technology is awesome, but I'm not here to talk about the awesome stuff. But I was just seeing these messages, reading them, and I was like, how is no one doing anything? Like kid after kid getting thrown under the bus by this stuff and no one saying anything. And I started doing research and looking at the rates of anxiety and depression and young people and teen suicide, seeing that suicide right now is like the leading cause of death. And it has been for a couple of years for like age 10 to 17 in most states. And if you look at the graphs, everything kicked up in 2010. And that's like right when Instagram and Snapchat came out, and then we gave it to kids and it caused so many issues. And so I was just a dad who cared. I really care about kids. I care about my kids. I care about every kid. And I was like, if no one's going to talk about this, I will. And just started shouting about it. And it's been waking people up. It's been amazing. It's all been very grassroots. I am not a therapist. I'm not, people are like, where'd you go to school for? I'm like, not this. I just care a lot about these kids. And what I've been able to do is been able to, through social media, because that's where they're at, I've been able to really create a bridge where I've been able to give so many kids a voice. They share stuff with me, and then they know I will share it to the world. So they finally have a voice. We have a huge crisis in our country. I mean, our country's messed up right now in a lot of things, but we've had a crisis where we have not cared about kids. I don't know if it's because they don't vote, so people don't care, or because parents are too busy. And I know obviously parents, we do love our kids, but in general, we are throwing them into stuff that is traumatic, life trauma, just horrible stuff that they should not be exposed to. And kids are growing up overnight, getting access to apps that no adult should even use, let alone 9-year-olds. And the statistics are so alarming, and they're only going to get worse unless we keep shouting about it. And so that has evolved into me going out and speaking a lot of places. I'm going to Texas tomorrow for 2 days to go speak in Dallas. I just go to communities. I do assemblies at the school. They're my favorite things if I can. Pre-COVID, I was speaking like 80 times a month on average. Assemblies and then parent nights, and just sharing this information. And the thing is, what's awesome is most places I go, it is standing room only. And it's not because of me. It's because the message is so important. And parents know. And it doesn't matter if it's an affluent city or a very low socioeconomic city. It's the same problems. And so just doing everything I can, you know, I don't know if I'll get hit by a bus tomorrow. I just want to make sure that the time I have on this earth, I'm using to do something good. And so many good parents like you guys and other people around the country like are seeing it. And like you said, having that kind of moment where it's like, wait a second, like, what are we all doing? Like, our kids don't have childhoods. They just look at their iPads and are on YouTube all day. Like, and that's not their fault. None of these kids wanted to be screen babies. None of them want a phone in their face to raise or entertain them all the time. They want to be kids. They want to have childhoods. They know they shouldn't be on TikTok. They know it's way too adult for them. But they need someone to step in, and parents need to step in. So, but yeah, that's pretty much most of it in a nutshell.
So you mentioned that you know, the phone has really accelerated a lot of the depression and things like that. I mean, there's been lots of social anxiety for a long time from kids just going to school pre-phone. What exactly is it about a phone that's really kind of accelerated or amplified all these issues? Can you pin it down to like a few things, or kind of what's really amplified it with the phone?
What I say is that the phones and the technology today, specifically social media and gaming, and social media is what's really hurting the girls, and gaming more the boys. And gaming today is social media. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It is the mall. This is where a lot of boys hang out. If parents won't let them play in person, they go play on their headset. They go play Fortnite, and then they talk to each other. And the game is almost secondary to them, like hanging out. But if you think about peer culture and you think about all those things inside peer culture for a middle school kid, before phones, it was what? You know, you had drama, you had friend quarrels, you had boyfriend-girlfriend breakups, you had gossip, you had bullying. Mm-hmm. But the thing about before phones is that all stopped when the bell rang. It stopped, and kids finally had a break. They had a break from the bullies, from the drama, from the constant, you know, that friend who will never leave them alone because they're always whatever, and the stress. And they had a break. And now they don't. If they have one of these, there is no break. It is 24/7 access to peer culture and all the good, but sadly, all the bad. So the bullying never stops now. The friend drama never stops. The texting, the constant keeping up with this. I mean, we have kids that are 12 that have to run their social media account like as if it's their brand. And most companies have a team of experts who run that account for them. So these kids are 13, 14, 15, running an Instagram account, running a Snapchat account, running a TikTok account, maintaining their vibe, their brand of what they want people to see and how successful they are, or what their kind of jam is. And then also they have to be a kid and have school and pressure from parents and pressure from life. It's just too much. Most kids I talk to, and they say, you know what, I took a break off social media for a week, and they say the same thing. They say, I felt free. That's the word they always say. They feel free. I got off Instagram for a week and I felt free. And that's the thing. A lot of these kids, they are held captive, just like a prisoner in this little device. And parents sadly are come to it and think, you know what, this is just the world they're growing up in. There's nothing you can do about it. They're gonna see it eventually. And those are all lazy excuses for lack of parenting. Your kids need what they've always needed before the phones, before technology, is they need to be seen and heard and loved and have connection with people that matter. And if they don't get that at home, they get it here, and it's fast and it's synthetic and it's digital and it's worthless, but at least it is something to them. And so no wonder they keep going to TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat and these apps to feel connection or to feel validation or to be seen, heard, or loved. And so, yeah, you look at all those things. I ask parents all the time, one of my first questions at Parent Nights, I say, okay, I want you as parents to think about when you were in middle school or in 6th grade or in 8th grade and how stressed out you already were and how hard that was as a 13-year-old, like keeping up with your friends and whatever the drama was and maybe 1 or 2 bullies at school. Now, I want you to imagine that I gave you a phone and Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter on top of that. How many of you parents would have survived? And no hands ever come up. Right. And then I say, how many of you parents have your kids have those things? And most of the hands go up. And I'm like, what are we missing here? Right. So it's all that, the FOMO. I mean, like I tell kids, I'm like, when we were your age, if there was a party and people were hanging out and you didn't know, like you didn't care because you didn't know. And now you pull your phone, you see everything you're missing out on. And if you mess up at 13 when you're our age, no one cared 5 minutes later. But if you mess up today, kids literally are getting canceled, like in high school, because they do one dumb thing. It comes back to bite them 10 years later, 5 years later. They're getting expelled. They're losing high school scholarships because they posted one dumb thing on Snapchat that someone shared with the principal. Doing the things that we all would have done as kids if we had this tech. We all would have done the same things. Half of us would be in jail if we had Snapchat in high school, me included, I'm sure. So it's just too much. And so I'm trying to help parents wake up to be like, this is not the normal. This should not be normal. Giving a kid this when they're a kid is not normal. This should not be the way. Giving kids phones when they're 8, 9, 10, 11. Like, what are we doing? If you need to get a hold of them, there's ways you can get a hold of them that don't involve give them a mini supercomputer with untethered access to social media apps. So I'm sorry, I could go on forever.
No, I love it. I even noticed too, because we have younger kids as well. Our oldest is 9. And so they didn't have smartphones yet or anything, but we noticed just taking away the electronics from the kids. My 5-year-old, I didn't even realize like how much he was using that to cope. It's crazy. The first week was like just meltdown after meltdown. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what he does when he doesn't get to play with his older brother and sister. When he doesn't get this, that's where he goes, and he doesn't have to deal with his emotions. And so helping walk through that, I was like, wow, we are like, there's like kids all over are probably doing the same exact thing. Nobody knows how to cope anymore, and if we don't know how to cope and deal with our feelings, then we're in for
and they're watching us. I mean, they just learn it from parents. Parents are always like, why is my daughter so addicted to her phone? She's never off it. And I'm like, well, show me your screen time. And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, that's probably what it is, right? But that's the issue. I mean, as adults with fully functioned brains, it's hard enough for us to process so much of this. And I keep going back to imagine being 10 or 12, like 13. And here's the issue. As we look at rates of anxiety just skyrocketing among young people, I think so much of that is tied to what you just said, where they're not feeling the feels, right? The feels that they have to go through, they have to experience, the feelings of awkwardness, boredom, loneliness, sadness, all those yucky feelings. If they have an iPad, they have a phone in their pocket, whatever, they just go there like parents do to numb out and scroll. So what is going to happen when we have an entire generation of young people that grow up, become young adults that have never, ever really faced their feelings, that have never really learned how to cope? We are going to see astronomical rises and more anxiety, depression, and suicide ideation and accidental deaths due to overdose. I mean, we are just at the cusp of this pandemic. And so I tell parents all the time, I'm like, don't use this as that soothe, as that binky, as that blankie, because for so many kids, that's what it is. And if you don't think your kid has a problem with it, like you said, try doing a week, no screens. and watch, you know, that little angel 5-year-old, when you take away the iPad and realize that they can't even function and they're freaking out, as if you would take a heroin needle from a little heroin addict, almost the same type of attitude. And so doctors are coming out. The AAP has said that, you know, toddlers should have 0 screen time, not even an hour less. I mean, 0 screen time. And because the science is kind of coming out and showing us that maybe this isn't the best thing. So, but it is fun. We actually, you guys did this for 2 weeks. 2 years and 9 months ago, after I read the book Glow Kids, which every teacher and parent should read. I read that book. I got to page 22 and I'm like, babe, we're done. We threw away iPads, Kindles, Xbox, Wii, PS4, everything. We even unplugged the DVD player in the family car for like road trips and stuff. We're like, we're done with this stuff. And like you said, I mean, for a day, it was like taking crack pipes from itty bitty crackheads, and they were bouncing off the walls and they hated our guts. It was like we killed their dog. But after a day, they just said, you know what? They became kids again. They learned how to be bored. They learned how to be quiet and think and feel the feels. Be kids. If we don't let kids do this when they're kids, when are they going to learn? When are they going to learn how to cope with this stuff?
Yeah, so true. And I think that, like you said, it's quick. Like, I think after, you know, it happened really fast that our kids didn't really play electronics that much prior to this, other than my 5-year-old. That's what I realized, is he was the one, when he got left out, that's where he would go play on his electronic device. But then my other kids started including him more, and they ended up just having more. I mean, they were making movies, and I mean, they just have so much more fun, really, while playing together. So I think that it just takes a minute to get over that, like, initial.
It's and here's one thing is, so last month I launched a challenge, a 30-day detox, and I said, just try 30 days, try a week, get through a week, then get to day 30. And I was amazed, not shocked, because I knew these were the response I'd get because I've been through it. How many parents said, I can't believe how much easier it is to parent without the devices. I thought the devices were making our life easier. It was making them harder. It was causing contention. My kids were total devils. When we finally got rid of them, we said, look, there's nothing I'm not going to go back. We're doing this for a week, or we're doing it for a month. It was so much less stress as a parent. And I honestly think now that we got sold a script, we got sold a lie as parents, that like, you know what, you're so overworked here. Just take this, give it to your kids. It'll solve all of your problems. When in fact, it absolutely did not do that. And if you look at most of the Silicon Valley executives who work at Apple and Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, they don't let their kids touch this stuff. I know I've spoke there many, many times. They don't let their kids touch. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs wouldn't let his kids use iPads in their home. I mean, that right there should be kind of a red flag. So
I have heard that a lot of this stuff, I mean, a lot of companies are like purposefully, like they study brains, they do all kinds of stuff to like purposefully make it addicting. Like, is that true? Is it worse than I think? Or is it not as bad as people try to make it come out?
Oh, yes. So if you still have your Netflix account, if you didn't cancel it, which we did, but I got a preview this a month before with one of the producers. So there's an amazing documentary out called The Social Dilemma. It was done by the Center for Humane Technology, which are the ex-Googlers like Tristan Harris and the people that worked at Facebook who left, or the people who work at Pinterest and left because the guilt finally set in. And if you watch what they say, it'll blow your mind. There is an entire industry in Silicon Valley with social media and gaming. And not only that, with like Fitbits and with financial apps, whatever, where they're child psychologists and psychiatrists and neuroaddiction experts, PhDs who could go be, solving mankind issues, who could be curing mental diseases. But now they work and they make 10 times the money working in Silicon Valley, sitting side by side with coders and gamers and developers of apps like games like Minecraft, Fortnite, TikTok, whatever. And they sit there, and their job is to take human psychology and neurology and tweak the games and tweak the apps so they keep kids, especially, coming back for more and more and more and more. Change this color, make this sound. What if we do this? One of the most maniacal, worst, sadistic things ever created is through Snapchat. It's called streaks. So if your kid has Snapchat, a lot of them got sucked into these streaks. So streaks are when your kid, if they message a friend, they send them a photo and that person sends it back, and they do it twice a day. it makes a knot. It goes ding, 1 day, your streak is at 1. You do it tomorrow, it's at 2. And as it gets higher and higher and higher, it ranks you with all of your other friends. And there's numbers and there's like jewels, and it's like this fake award system. And every assembly we go to, when I say, how many of you have Snapchat? And every hand goes up. And I say, how many of you are involved in a streak with one or more people? And all the hands go up. And then we say, how many of you actually like streaks? No hands go up. And we say, okay, how many of you have paid someone when you went out of town and you lost service, go hiking, have paid a friend or gave your phone to a friend to keep your streak going? And all these hands go up. They create these things because they know, okay, 13-year-old kids, it's all about being cool and social circles. And so if we make this thing like where they have to open our app at least twice a day to keep their streak going with all these people, most of them they've never met, then they're going to keep coming back to our app, which means what? We make more money. They're not out there. These apps aren't sitting there saying, how can we create a deeper social connection with kids? How can we create deep, meaningful friendships? Absolutely not. These are 28-year-old kids who have never left a computer that are sitting there with psychiatrists saying, how do we get kids to come back? Because we need to make money. And that's just one of so many even worse ways they do it. But yeah, they're called persuasion labs. Some of them are good. Some of them use it to get you to be healthier or to track your steps. But if you are a neurologist and you want to make a lot more money than you're making right now, go to Silicon Valley, go work for Snapchat. They will pay you big, big bucks to keep people coming to their app.
Sounds like the parents don't really know what they're up against when you put it like that. We're battling against some of the smartest experts out there.
There is an army. I tell parents, if your kid's doing this, just realize that there is a army of experts with PhDs and doctorates and just so much knowledge that are on the other side of your kid's screen who know what they're doing. And your kid is fighting that person. And they need parents to step in and be their brakes and set boundaries and, be there and let their kids know, hey, maybe that's too much time. Let's set some appropriate boundaries. Even if they kick and scream, do it for them, because kids in charge are not happy kids. But there's a whole army there. A lot of these kids are fighting Silicon Valley all on their own. And until parents wake up or the government steps in, it's kind of the Wild West right now. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be Chicken Little, the sky's falling, but it is. And parents just need to get together, and teachers and administrators, and say, okay, maybe we need all rethink, put on the brakes, and start asking some tough questions about this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I have a question. Like, what would you say are the most dangerous apps that kids have? Like, what are those apps and what are the trends right now with that?
Well, sadly, they're most the same apps that most parents use. Any app where there's an ability for your kid to chat with strangers, either chat, send photos back and forth, whatever, should be absolute no-goes, should be a hard no. And those are some of the most popular ones. That's Snapchat, that's Instagram, that's TikTok, that's Minecraft if you have the private chat not turned on. Roblox, a lot of these games are smoke signals for pedophiles. They know where the kids are. They know they're on Roblox. They know they're on Fortnite. They know they're on TikTok. And it's really easy for kids to get sucked into, talking with these people because they're giving them some attention, and these kids are bored, or their parents are gone all day and they're on a Chromebook at home trying to do schoolwork. So any app where there's a private chat function or any kind of private feature, absolutely not. And the parents say, well, my kid's got TikTok. I just set it to private. Okay, well, you better monitor. You better monitor who they're accepting as friends. You better monitor what they're posting. You better be on TikTok watching because kids are kids and they're going to do stupid stuff. So private apps, obviously those big ones, but there's a whole other ones. If you just Google worst app for kids, sheriff's departments have put out reports, and Internet Crimes Against Children puts them out. There's a lot of apps that you would think are just normal, fun little kid apps, which absolutely are not. Because they promote them like they're safe for kids, or they're rated 12 plus, which they're absolutely not. But some of the games too, I've seen a lot of iPad games for kids rated 4 plus, where almost every other ad that pops up is pornographic, or it's leading them to some pornographic anime site where I've done it pretending, of course, maybe I'm a 4-year-old and I click there and it goes to a site, and one click, I can watch porn as a 4-year-old, which is really sad. And so it's just, you just have to be very, very diligent. The internet is anxious to show kids pornography. They know that's what gets them hooked to come back to their apps. And it's happening everywhere. YouTube, Fortnite, it does not matter. So just be diligent. If you're giving your kids this stuff right now, you've got to be very, very vigilant and monitoring, checking in, get the devices out of the bedroom, make sure that the Chromebooks are in a public place, make sure that you've got filters on the routers coming in, make sure you got filters on the content. If not, you're going to let your kid get bit by the snake. So
what are some of the best filters that you know of?
yeah. So what parents a lot of parents forget is the most important thing is the router, right? If the router is what's bringing the content. So that little box that's hidden behind a cushion or behind that no one ever notices. There are some really awesome routers out there that will really filter the content coming into the home. One of the ones we love is called Eero, E-E-R-O. Eero routers are really good. There's router limits. There's one called like Griffin. Anything is better than that standard Comcast box you've got, or whichever one you use. So get a good router. You're going to spend a little bit of money, but I promise whatever you spend now will save you money that your kids will spend on therapy later. And then filters for the phone. There's a lot of good stuff, right? Bark is really good for monitoring apps and monitoring words. So if your kids are saying things like, nudes or, kill yourself or you can flag bullying words or, sexually explicit words, and then you can have conversation with kids about that. There's so many. RPAC, Guardian, Custodio. There's tons of really good ones. The best app, as I say in my parent nights, and I've tried every single one, and I've poked holes in every single one. I've found workarounds of every single one. The best parenting app is called You, and it's free. And You are the best parenting app. Don't think that putting all those apps on your phone, check, they're going to do my job for me. That is a false sense of security. Absolutely not. It's just going to help you do your job a little better and help your kids a little bit more. But if you think that you can just do that and then go back to Netflix and just be like, they're fine, I'm sure they're fine, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So.
No, I think I was listening to one of your podcasts where you talked about kids actually even leaving their house and they upload the apps on the way to school and then get them on their way home. I was like, really?
Yeah, kids are funny, and you know what? If you think about it, you kind of look at it like any kind of addict, right? They're gonna get their fix if they're addicted to it. So the best thing is just not give it to them. It's really hard to give it and then take it back. So don't give it to them in the first place. But if you do, realize they're gonna need to get their fix. I tell kids tell me they're like, oh, my mom. I had a high school girl said, my mom would kill me if she knew I had a Snapchat account. How long have you had it for? 6 years. What? Oh yeah. She'd check my phone at night. So I would just show her the phone before school. Oh, don't have it. And then I would download it on the way to school, use it, post, snap, whatever, keep my streaks going. And then I would delete it off my phone on the way back. And then I'd show my mom before bed. And she's like, okay, check, parenting done. There are apps where kids can hide different apps behind it. There's a calculator app that looks like a calculator. It works like a calculator, but if you type in a code you can set, like 4 + 4 = percentage, it'll open up a whole different interface on your phone where you can keep your nude photos, you can keep your explicit content. Someone actually made that app. I don't know why. Obviously I know why. There are tricky ways where kids can get on if they're ninjas, if they're hooked to it. So I tell parents, monitoring, if you want to go that route, is going to be a full-time job. You are going to pull your hair out. You're going to have all these different apps. You're going to have, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of time. But most importantly, just having conversations. Just talk to your kids about this stuff. They just want mom and dad to talk to them and ask them about their day and how is life, and let's go get a Rupert flow and let's just chat without our phones out and really, really listen. That's the number one problem. I don't blame kids for any of these issues they're going through. It all falls on parenting. And parents are too overworked and we're overstressed and we're freaking out too much about politics and about whatever things we have no control over. And it's time we as parents, if we detox first, let's detox ourselves and scroll down our screen time and then focus spending that time with our kids. You'll see huge changes.
Excuse me. So what about like resources that we could go to or even share with our kids to educate ourselves as well as maybe some of the older kids?
For sure. So if you're a parent and you just want to stay up on what all the apps are out there, there's a really good website called smartsocial.com. A guy who runs it named Josh Ox. He's super rad, and they update that daily. So what are the new apps coming out, and what do the apps actually do? Do not read reviews on the App Store about the app. That's a total waste of time. It's like asking heroin addicts, like, how's the heroin today? They're like, well, I need it. It's amazing, right? So smartsocial.com is really good. Protect Young Eyes, my friend Chris McKenna runs that. That is really, really good. He released a really good article about how to safely lock down a Chromebook for all the kids that just got school issued Chromebooks that may or may not have filters on it. Of course, you can follow my Instagram. I always share a bunch of good stuff on there. And I have a podcast that is, parents can listen to, teenagers listen to. I alternate every few episodes where I talk to teenagers, like high school kids, and we just talk about life and what they're going through. And I've had a lot of teenagers message me saying, wow, that was so helpful to know that, like, I'm not alone. And I've had a lot of parents message me saying that was the most amazing. I've read books by PhD experts. Like, hearing 3 high schoolers talk about this was like the best thing I've ever heard as a parent. So there's a lot of resources out there.
Do you have a particular episode that you would suggest? Like, if people have teens that they're trying to get off of electronics or trying to take away the smartphone, what's the episode you'd recommend?
The most listened to one I have is one that's called Let's Talk About TikTok. Cause obviously parents, that's kind of the big app right now. So that's really good. Other ones, geez, I don't know. They're all kind of categorized. There's ones where we talk about pornography. There's ones we talk about anxiety and depression for the young people. But I think the big ones, the big issues, the big thorns on parents' side right now, obviously, are TikTok. Snapchat has always been bad. So go listen to that one about TikTok. It's pretty eye-opening.
Awesome. Yeah. That's one of the biggest questions I get. And then my mom, she's the family therapist, and she's like, will you please ask him, like, what would he say to a parent that thinks their child is complete, like, that they have this relationship with their child where they don't need to worry about that because their child tells them everything, and they feel very safe with what they have going on with their phone.
Yeah. So there's a disorder now out called NMK disorder, and a lot of parents suffer from that. And that's not my kid disorder, where parents, we love our kids. Our kids are the best, that we raise them, right? They're amazing. That we take them to church on Sunday, and they say their prayers, or they go to their captain of the soccer team, and they talk to me about everything. And I trust my kid. And I love parents who tell me that. And my kids are the same way. Like, I love my kids, but I don't trust. I have a 14-year-old who's in 9th grade who doesn't have a phone yet. Well, her and her sister share a Gab phone. I don't trust her to properly rinse the conditioner out of her hair yet. I cannot trust her with the internet. And it's not that I don't trust her. It's I don't trust the internet, right? Your kid is a kid. It does not matter how smart and how amazing they are. It can and will happen to your kid. I can't tell you how many parents, countless parents I have talked to, either through social media or in person, in tears after parent night, saying, my kid was the perfect kid. Everything she said and did was perfect. And then we just found out XYZ, and now our whole lives and her lives have been thrown into a total whirlwind. It can and will happen to your kid, no matter how amazing they are, because they're kids, right? That their brains aren't even fully developed till mid-20s to early 30. And so they're going to mess up, and they're going to make mistakes. The most important thing for parents, I think, to realize is that your kid is going to mess up. They're going to make mistakes, and they're doing it on something you pay for. And so if you're going to yell at yourself first. Number 2, don't freak out, right? They need to know that if they mess up, and when they mess up, that no matter what the world says to them, no matter what the school does, no matter what their friends say, no matter what Snapchat says, that they know that in their house, that they can have a soft landing with mom or with dad or with both. They know they can come to you and say, Mom, I screwed up, and know that you're going to sit there and give them a big hug and listen and say, let's talk about it, and say, I'm not embarrassed about you. I'm not ashamed of you. I love you more than anything. You screwed up. Now let's face this. How do we do it? Let's do it together. They need to know that parents are in their corner, because I'll tell you what, this is a scary, hard time to be a kid. It's just it's a crappy situation for them.
I love it.
And so they just know parents are in their corner.
What do you call your space on the something bubble, the safe bubble, or the safe?
Yeah, so we have a chair in my wife and I's bedroom we call the no trouble bubble.
No trouble.
The no trouble bubble. And so that's the chair where everything is on limits, right? Where if my kids have a question, let's say they went to school and heard something they thought was maybe a bad word, or maybe they saw something on a school issued iPad at a friend's house, or if they got exposed to naughty pictures or something like that, they come home and they say, and I can always tell, you can tell something's on their mind, and they'll say, Dad, I need to go to the no trouble bubble, or they just call it the bubble now. And then I'm like, ooh, yeah, awesome. What did they hear this time? And then we go and we sit down, and they know that this is a place where they can talk to dad or mom with no shame, with no guilt, with nothing. We'll just listen. And we're there to listen and to teach and to educate. And it's my favorite thing. We got this idea from a family friend who did with her kids. And it's amazing. We created a spot in our house where our kids can come and talk and ask questions without me saying, how dare you? What, you idiot? Why would you do that? And the other day, what was it? Right when school started, my 4th grader, Lola, she came, she's like, Dad, I need to go to the bubble. And she's my favorite one. She always has funny things. And she's like, Dad, these kids at school, we were talking about this, and they said the word blah. What does that mean? And I was like, whoa, okay, let's go talk about this. In French, when people are mad, they say that word and what it means. Anyways, and don't confuse it with the no accountability bubble, right? I'm not letting my kids come to me saying, hey, Dad, I'm smoking weed and we burned down a building. No big deal. No trouble, right? All right, see you, right? That's college, the no accountability bubble, right? This is place. Here's the deal. I do it because I want my kids to know they can come to us, and we're going to listen and love and teach and educate, because kids are going to hear it anyways. They're going to have questions. They're going to be curious. They're going to hear about porn. They're going to hear about TikTok. They're going to hear about all the stuff their friends talk about on there. And if you don't talk to them about it, their curiosity is going to lead them to go figure it out. They're going to hire an old phone their friend gives them to go look at it, or they're going to hire porn to teach them about sex. They're just like any kind of tool, a shovel or a screwdriver. They're hiring that to do something, to teach them, to learn something. And parents, please, you do not want the internet to teach your kids about this stuff. You do not want TikTok to teach your kids about politics or about any of the issues with body image. You do not want Kim Kardashian to teach your daughter about what is okay socially. You do not want Pornhub to teach your kids about intimacy and about relationships. And sadly, that's where kids, so many, are turning. And what is it going to do to them if this is how they're learning about this stuff? So the no trouble bubble, do it in your classroom, do it in your house. It's really fun.
Yeah, we actually did that now, but we already they knew they could come talk to us. We have a funny one too that always loves to tell us everything, and we're always like, sometimes we're scared, and then after we're like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah. They'll bring some stuff that's super funny, and it's not even close to bad. It's just some word they heard that,
Really,
that's the goal. That's the goal for parents, is to have that open relationship where you don't need a bubble, where the whole house is the bubble. Where the second they walk under our roof, they know they can talk and share about anything. And if it's something bad, they need some consequences to learn for their actions, then absolutely. But make the whole house the bubble.
No, yeah, my son's last thing was that he was liking girls. That's what he needed to come and talk to me about privately.
All these girls are talking to me. Yeah, I had one of my my same Lola last year. She came. She's, Dad, I need to go to the bubble. And I was like, what's up? What happened? She's like, Gabe looked at me at lunch. And I was like, and she's like, I know, right? And I was like, all right, well, when he looked at you, how did it make you feel? It made me feel awkward. Okay, let's talk about that.
So I have a question. So other than like being, doing our best in our own home, and being the best parent we can and educating ourselves and our kids, are there other ways to kind of support the cause, the movement, anything like that?
Do exactly what you're doing, right? Do the detox and go through the crap how it sucks for a few days, and then see the benefit and see the change in your kid, and then do what you guys are doing, and share the stories, tell your friends, post it on Facebook, right? I can't believe we just did 5 days screen free. And the first day my son did this, but now we're on day 3. He's exploring again. He's building stuff. We got the Legos out, and it's changed our house. This will fix itself when we have little grassroots efforts spreading in every little community, whether you're sitting in the back of a Winnebago in Oregon, or whether you're at a house in Florida, or whether you're in a church in Iowa. It doesn't matter. Getting people to do it in their home and then share it with their friends, share it with their neighbors, share it with their tribe, whatever it is, the people they go to high fit with, the people they go to preschool with, whatever it is. It needs to be grassroots like that. Little bubbles and little pockets of information spreading. And then you find out you're not the only one. For a long time, we thought we were the only ones that were doing this. And then we realized we're not. People start coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, we too have been screen free, or we don't let our kids touch this stuff. I've had parents say, we should start a village where, like, you know, families where kids aren't on screens all day and they don't let their kids get iPhones at 12. We can all have this cool village where all their kids hang out. We don't need to worry about them showing TikTok dances and stuff.
No, really. I think that's what I think all the time. I'm like, oh, like we have to send them out into the world and they're going to be exposed even if we try and protect them. So
yeah. So talk to your friends, you know, let's not make it weird. I don't know why it's so taboo. You know, we feel like we're shaming each other if we say, oh, did you know this? Your daughter posted this. You know, I just want to make sure that you know, I'm concerned. If all of your kids, if all of the neighbor kids were going to the sketchiest house in the city with boarded up windows and like tweakers walking in and out and graffiti and loud pumping music all day, and our kids were going there, wouldn't we all like get together and maybe talk about it and be like, hey, should someone go check that out? Like your kids go there. Oh, Stacy's kids go there. I trust Stacy. I'm sure they're fine. Or, you know, Mackenzie's mom, she says it's cool. So I guess that's fine. I trust her. We would never do that, but we're letting our kids do that all day with TikTok. And we're letting our kids do that all day with Snapchat. They're going to the house full of tweakers and crazy people being exposed to who knows what. And we're thinking like, well, you know, I trust my neighbor friends' kids because they go there too. We just got to be, I say all the time, we got to be better villagers. Bring back the village where we're all helping each other out, sharing the message, post on Facebook, the article I posted about TikTok without worry of, oh, this is going to make my friend Amy feel bad because I know her daughter has TikTok and she's going to text me and say, how dare you? You know, because social media turned all of us adults into quasi-teenagers and none of us now emotionally have ever graduated high school. We have the most insecure group of parents ever. We're all raising kids now. It's a disaster. So, you know, it's okay. We're all learning this together. Let's be good villagers.
I do have a question about for adults now. So many adults work online and work on social media platforms. What do you suggest about this? Because just like I told Logan, I feel like I'm a slave sometimes to social media because of all the algorithms and all the stuff you're trying to do. Like I'm nervous to get off of Instagram or something for a month because I'm like, what will happen to?
What am I going to miss? Who's going to die? Yeah, it's all done deliberately. It worked on us too.
More like with my business, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
My audience, and then I'm not on there for a while. You know what happens to the algorithms and all that. What would you say?
Too.
Yeah. And here's the deal. I have no problem at all, obviously, with using social media to do good stuff. Use it for business. Use it to spread messages. Use it to fundraise. Use it to do good stuff. I don't think there's an issue there at all. Many, if not almost every business needs social media. And so there's no problem there. And that's what we're teaching our kids. My daughter doesn't have no smartphone, no social media, but we're teaching them, right? I'm showing them what I'm doing, what I'm posting, and how I'm using it to connect and share a message. And that's how these should be used, as tools, not entertainment, but as tools. Yeah. And so for parents out there that are using social media and feel sucked in, maybe look at, the time you're using it for work, the time you're using it to numb or to scroll or distract, right? Maybe look at your screen time reports and see, okay, I was on Twitter for 5 seconds to check the news, and now I'm scrolling 2.5 hours later because, that's how they do it. What are you going to miss out on? And so maybe look at just some boundaries with your own social media. I'm going to get on from 9 to 10:30 in the morning when the kids are at school. I'm going to post everything I need. I'm going to respond to messages. And then I'm going to tell my community, hey, I'm done. I'm not going to respond. I actually have on my email signature line for my work email, which on the very bottom, it says my name, contact information, and then very small font, I put, P.S. I am very low tech after work and on weekends for my family. Don't expect a reply very quickly. And I've had people reach out to me on more of a professional side. Oh my gosh, I love that part. No, don't worry about responding. I get it. No, take a few days. I don't, it's okay if I don't hear from you. I should do that too for my kids, And I think there's going to be a movement, I think with young people especially, but parents too, where there's going to be a movement more towards minimalism, I think, as we get through. The pendulum swung so far out that now it's starting to swing back. And we're seeing it happen, not just in families like yours and ours, but in just regular people saying, you know, college kids. People message me like, I'm 35. I don't even have kids. I'm not married yet. And I just chucked my iPhone. I'm like, I can do this on my laptop at work. I don't need to take this home too. You know, I went and bought a flip phone. It's the best thing ever, you know? So it's a fun little wake up. You know, we're all gonna look back and say, what were we all thinking? What happened to all of us? This is like, you know, cigarettes 2.0. The best thing is to do is to, you know, start with you and then be the example first for your kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is there any, I'm sure you get lots of emails and letters and people, you know, letting you know kind of, you know, what they've learned from you and stuff, but have there been any success stories that stick out to you or something that you remember or anything like that?
So many. Oh my gosh. So many. One of my favorite ones I actually shared on my TEDx a couple years ago. It was from a mom, and she messaged me the day she got back from the ER because her daughter had just attempted suicide at 17. And she said, Collin, we just got back from the ER because my 17-year-old just attempted suicide. And she said, and I know that smartphones, Instagram, Snapchat, and text drama got us to where we are. I have the whole thing memorized. I've said it so many times. She said, we had no idea how bad this was going to get. All of this started when she was 11, which is when we gave her first phone. And she said, I'm heartbroken. She's like, I can't believe, I feel like awful. Like my daughter literally tried to end her life. And I know it's because of the stuff that I was giving her, that I was paying for, that I let her use under my roof, and I wasn't monitoring. And I wrote this mom back and I said, okay, whatever they do, inpatient stuff usually is only a couple days. You know, there's therapy, which she absolutely needs to do. And there's all this stuff. I said, will you just try something? Will you just take away social media for like a couple weeks when she gets back and just tell me what happens? And she wrote me back maybe a month later. And she literally said, Collin, after inpatient stuff for just a couple days, we did not go meds. We did not go for like hardcore therapy. I just connected with her, put my phone down, and I got her off social media for a couple weeks. And she said, Collin, I have my daughter back. She is happy again. She is lively. She's not anxious to move out. She's made better relationship with friends. She has a more confidence. I mean, she listed off a bullet list of stuff that most parents would think we were making up. It was just like every little thing. And she's like, and one of her favorite things she said, she tells me she loves me. Like she actually tells me she loves me. I haven't heard that since she was 12. And then she ended up by saying, for the parents out there that feel like it's too late, she said, it is never too late. I've had parents come up to me after parent nights in different cities and say, Collin, we gave my 7-year-old a smartphone. She's right over there and she's hooked and it's ruined her life. And we have given up on her. We're going to just work really hard on our 12-year-old. And I'm like, no, like, don't give up. It's never too late. They need parents and they need a childhood, and anything is better than nothing. Just again, get off your own phone and go connect with your kids. And even if they kick and scream and act like they don't want to, I promise you, because they tell me they want your time.
Powerful. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much what we wanted. We're so grateful for you showing up the way you do. Yeah. And we're going to keep fighting too. We're on board. We know this is important and we want to keep this challenge going. So if you're okay, I want to share this interview and challenge. Social media. And
I love how you guys made it so like almost out of the box, right? Like a lot of parents, they're like, I have no idea how I could raise my kids without their iPads. Like, how would I? It's like it's almost like parents have forgotten how to parent or never learned how to parent and play with their kids and be silly. So I love what you guys made with like, oh, here are some really good things you can do. You could do this, step 1, step 2. Giving parents actual resources and things to do, not just take away their iPad and their DS and then they're automatically going to become kids again. It's going to take a minute for them to remember and relearn how to be bored and how to, take a pile of garbage and turn it into a fort. And so I'm really grateful you guys have that. And like you said, it's not going to take long. You'll be surprised. It's not going to be a month of freakouts and meltdowns. And it's going to hurt and sting for a little bit. And then I promise you, once you see the change, you will never want to go back. You can reintroduce tech and have movie nights and, you know, maybe a little iPad time. But honestly, I've had parents tell me, they're like, I went back after a week off or a month off to saying, hey, how about just 30 minutes a day? And they were devils, even with 30 minutes a day. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do 30 minutes. Cold turkey, we're done. And you know what they're doing all day? They're running around the forest and they're collecting bugs, you know, stuff that we all did in the 80s. And now, you know, we're rewilding the child. That's the deal.
Rewilding the child. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, and I like what you're doing. I think it's such a noble, cool thing. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Real quick, one more. Just tell people your podcast, because you have, and then you also have 2 Instagram accounts. You have one for like Save the Kids, and then you have an adult one as well.
So the main thing is my Instagram account. I've got so much stuff. You could scroll back a mile and go through all the highlight bubbles. There's stuff on Snapchat. There's stuff on iPads. There's stuff on gaming, on every game. There's stuff on porn, everything. Tons on TikTok you can go through. So that's just my name, at Collin Kartchner. And then I have a private account that I don't post a whole lot to, but it's more of the holy crap. And that one is save.the.parents. That's a private one just for parents. We go through and look at, make sure no kids are following. And that's just more of us saying, hey, the stuff I can't share on my main Instagram page because I have a lot of teenagers that follow me and I don't want them to be exposed. And it's just stuff I find on Instagram, stuff I find on Snapchat, trends that parents need to know that are happening. Like when last month, a guy, oh my gosh, ended his life. It was live streamed on Facebook. Someone uploaded it. He literally took a gun to his head and you could see the whole thing. Someone put on TikTok. It was shared countless times and kids were scrolling through cat videos and then they saw it. And so a lot of parents said, no, oh, she's just down in the basement doing homework. I'm like, no, your daughter is actually getting traumatized for life on an app in the basement you pay for. And so being able to share more of that stuff that I know if I put on my regular Instagram account that maybe some kids would get curious and go search out and I don't want them to. And then my podcast is just the Collin Kartchner podcast. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's on all the ones, whatever out there. So
yeah, it's awesome. I love your podcast. I love it. Love it.
Well, thank you. So yeah, lots of information out there. smartsocial.com, Protect Young Eyes, a lot of good stuff out there. If you haven't read Glow Kids, please read that. Even just the preface in chapter 1, get to page 22. It'll blow your mind. You can't unlearn this stuff. You'll never look at screens the same. I promise you it'll change your family's life.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You guys have a good day. We'll see you later.
You too. Thanks. Bye.